Hello, my name is Abby Davis. I am a chaplain in the spiritual care department, and the main thing I remember about my childhood is going to the woods every weekend with my dad, and my dad would be hiking along, and my sister and I would be running alongside him.
Welcome to Childhood Chatcast with the Dude. I'm the Dude, and as usual, I'm joined by Jake. Hey, Jake.
Hey, dude.
And we're going to take a deep dive into the kid experts here at Children's Minnesota's Childhoods to find out what makes us all the same. Because, hey, we were all kids once. And as a twist, I am going to try to guess their birthday.
Their birthdays?
Their exact birthday, the date and year. So join us in the time machine I built out of cardboard boxes and duct tape, and let's meet our guest.
Hey, dude.
Hey, Jake.
Did you have any unusual sports teams that you were a part of growing up?
You know, it's funny you say that. Actually, I created one. My friends and I would get together on the tennis courts, and we'd just play within a smaller area within the tennis court. And we had these different kind of paddles, and we had a different kind of ball and everything. And we actually called it pickleball, but I don't think it's really caught on. I don't think anybody's playing it.
Yeah, about that, dude.
You know, funny you say that though, Jake, because our guest today was known for playing sports, and in particular, a little outside of the box sport. Okay, so hi, Abby.
Hello, how are you, dude?
I'm awesome. Awesome. Thanks for being here.
In Boston, we say wicked awesome.
Wicked awesome.
Wicked awesome.
Oh, man. Okay, so what we like to do here is start at the very beginning because it's a very good place to start.
Where I would start, probably, is at the beginning.
According to Julie Andrews. Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. We always check in with people about their first memory. If you could dial it back to the very beginning, what's the first thing that you remember about being a kid?
So the first memory that has always come to me is that I'm in one of those orange life jackets, you know, the ones that probably weren't all that safe, and climbing around like on sand dunes and such in Maine and seaweed. After a canoe ride, my dad had a sailing canoe, and we go in the ocean in this sailing canoe. That, wow. I feel like being a little kid and climbing all that, that's sort of my main memory. Either that or when my brother came home from the hospital.
How old do you think you are?
I was about 2.5 when my brother was born.
Okay.
So I think actually my earliest memory, I think, was before he was born when I was climbing around in that orange life jacket.
It was like the miniature orange one.
Yeah, the miniature,
really
but
small.
not like the whole strap through the legs that we have now for little 2-year-olds, right?
No, back in the day, they just kind of popped off if you dropped in the water, kind of defeating the purpose. Right? Okay, so Maine.
Yes.
Is that where you lived then?
Well, nope. First 11 years, grew up outside of New Haven, Connecticut.
Oh, okay.
And then moved just south of Boston. So I was going to tell you dates, and I'm not going to tell you dates.
You don't have to tell me dates.
11
just
years old,
about 11.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, just outside of Boston.
And you said you have a younger brother.
Yep.
Any more siblings?
I have an older sister.
Okay, so middle child.
Middle child.
We'll get to that.
What's the age span between oldest to youngest?
Yeah.
So my sister is about 2 years older than me, a little bit less than 2 years, and then my brother's about 2.5 years younger than me.
Okay. Okay. Cool. And so you spent a lot of time at the beach and the dunes. Was that just like a special one-time thing, or were you kind of
we go to Maine a lot. My grandparents lived in Maine, so we go up to Maine and visit them in Maine and find crabs and starfish and body surf at the time.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so let's say we pick up after this first childhood memory. So obviously you started school out there, right?
I did. Yep.
Okay. So what was your experience with school? Were you intimidated by it? Because we always share this. I wasn't. I kind of felt like I was going to work. I felt like I'm a big person now, and I go to work, and this is what I do, and I go and I play with the blocks, and I make things out of cardboard, and I learn my ABCs, and that's my job. That's what it felt like. So it was just like I kind of felt confident. What was your take on it? Were you kind of a timid kid?
I love people. I loved friends, and I love kids. So I was one of those people who was shyer at first, and then once I felt comfortable, I just loved everybody. And I loved people from all different places, and I came out of my shell. So I sometimes think, you talk about introvert or extrovert and how introverted people sometimes prefer a few close friends and extroverted more.
Kind of larger circle.
Yeah, and don't know them as well. I always liked a lot of really close friends, right? So, but that took a little while to get there. And I was good at sports. So whether it was in gym class or on the field, I was asking my siblings what were some of the memories, and my sister said, a streak of pink running across the field, because I was very fast, and I was always out there competing with the boys to be the fastest runner in the 50-yard dash. And some woman reported to my mom, she was just a streak of pink running across the field.
I've never asked this before, and you don't have to do it.
Yeah.
But do you think you could name all of your teachers, kindergarten through when you start going to other classes?
6th grade?
Maybe 6th to 7th, maybe. Yeah. Do you think you could name every single one of your teachers? Were you that attentive in school? Did you like your teachers?
I loved my teachers. I know I could do it 1st grade on. That kindergarten teacher, I feel like she was like Miss Jensen or something like that, but I can't remember her name as well. But yes, for sure, I loved my teachers, and I was very attentive to that.
This sounds like you're a really good kid. You must have gotten into some kind of trouble at some point at this young age, because all kids are just figuring stuff out. Like,
I didn't get into too much trouble. I mean, my mom and one of my best friends, her mom, both worked in the church, and we used to roller skate in the basement, and we used to have races under the pews at the church, like slide on our bellies to army crawl to see who could go the fastest. I did dare myself to step on my sister's ring one time. She wasn't wearing it at the time, so that was good. But I did step on it and I broke it.
Oh no! You have to go to the gumball machine and get a new one.
Yeah, I know. It was one she had found somewhere. So
that's even worse.
I didn't get in trouble a whole lot.
Okay, that's fine. You don't have to dig too hard. We're not after any.
No, we're not here to
not
incriminate
that I can
you.
Share.
I'm pretty sure whatever you didn't cause, the dude and I caught up with.
Yeah, for sure. So it also sounds like, since we're in this really early age, sounds like you and I probably have something in common, and that's we could find and play and come up with anything anywhere. Like, right? We could play a box would be fine. You know what I mean? Like, we could probably I didn't grow up with a lot of money and a lot of toys and everything at my disposal, right? You just kind of like you were saying, you crawled through the thing and everything. Is that true?
It is true. My brother, when I was asking him, because my brother and I played together a whole lot. We actually would do these plays in the living room when we were Gugu and Gutha. So we were these babies who would act out plays. So we'd get all the cushions, make like fort cushions. And we actually had an old greasy pizza box that we were pretending was the screen at a movie theater. And then we would pretend that we were watching a movie on the pizza box.
You would do this for your parents or adults?
Exactly.
You'd be putting on
we
shows.
had all these Gugu and Gutha plays that we would put on.
So,
and then, of course, in the woods. I mean, a lot of people would invite a friend to come over for a sleepover. And to be honest, my dad would heat the house with a wood stove. And so it was actually very cold. Heat is in quotes. So it was actually pretty cold. And friends, to be honest, didn't really want to sleep over. But during the warmer months, we would go hiking with my dad, and we would have so much fun. And my dad owned this woods, and we would go out there and we could just be free, right? And we'd make forts, and we'd have all kinds of fun things.
Of course.
With,
that reminds me of Jim Lesty, the story, remember?
I listened to
He was just walking out in the woods, and that was one of his earliest memories. So he was really little. Yeah, especially, I think that's cool when you get a chance to live at that age in a place where the outdoors is like available, as opposed to like in the city and stuff, and you're kind of a little bit more confined, and you don't get to. You're kind of forced to use your imagination a lot. And creativity. I think that spawns a lot of creativity too. Were you a creative kid?
Less kind of crafty, artistic. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a singer, an actress, or a dog trainer. Those were my top three. So I loved music and I loved acting. And it's something that I never pursued as I got older because I got so caught into sports. But I was always trying out for the solo and got some solos. And in some of those plays that the whole class did, I would get sometimes parts in those.
Do you remember any of the plays that you did?
I did The Music Man. And I will say in 6th grade, fun fact, I could sing the whole musical. I could sing all of that practically word for word.
Awesome. You could sing We Got Trouble right here in River City.
Yep. With a capital T in that rhymes with P and that stands for pool. Yeah. And don't get me started because I have been told that's actually probably my worst trait. Is there a song?
I saw that that's okay. So let's park on that for a second. Now, was this later on?
This was 6th grade.
6th grade.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I remember seeing that. I might have been about in 6th grade. Our high school did it.
Yeah.
And it was the musical I saw because it was the one that really made me go, I think I really want to do what they're doing up there.
Wow.
And one of the reasons was one of our best football players on the high school team was singing that song, Shapoopy. Is that a song?
Shapoopy.
Yeah, and it's kind of physical shtick and a lot of that. And he was like the lead
cool.
halfback.
Yeah.
So, and he was kind of a stud on the team. And he's up there doing all this stuff, and I'm going, wait, what's his name I read about in the town paper about that. And he's doing that. I can do both too. So Music Man was like
that's fun.
Definitely a jumping off point for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was Mrs. Peru in that.
Oh, okay.
So
wow.
yeah,
Wow.
that was my.
Wait a minute. So you were in 6th grade. So they had like the junior versions of those shows. Is that what you guys did? I would hope so because there's
Yes, absolutely.
There's always like junior versions of whatever Annie, and stuff like that.
My kiddo just did the Aristocats.
Oh, fun!
Yeah.
That's fun.
Oh, awesome! Shout out.
Anyway, I love that, but I actually then played clarinet and I did orchestra in high school. But
clarinet.
I kind of went more of the sport, for.
But you
most
did a lot of everything. You dabbled. I think
I
that's
did
really
dabble.
cool. I did a lot of that band chorus. I love singing. Still do.
So 5th grade, I was in just outside of New Haven, right? And I was known as one of the athletes in the class. So when they would do that picking thing of who's on what team.
Sure.
I remember I was always picked first. And I felt like I'm a good athlete. I'm always picked first. I moved to Milton, Massachusetts, just south of Boston. And all of a sudden they didn't pick me first and they didn't know me. And it was almost like this popularity thing. And here's the new girl.
Right.
And I remember going home and just crying to my mom, like, they don't know. They don't know
But
that
then
I'm
you got
a
a
good
chance
athlete.
to show them though, right?
Well, and it did happen.
You proved your
worth.
It
did happen.
I bet you did.
But it was sort of that identity piece, right?
Sure.
You think of yourself as like, I'm good at this. I'm good at that.
It's a good lesson to learn.
Right.
I think it's important. Yes. Anyway, let's back up just a little bit. Okay.
Yes.
Toys. We talked a little bit about not having maybe access to every toy in the world, so we had to use our imagination. What were some of the things that you...
So I was a stuffed animal person. My favorite was actually not a super cuddly stuffed animal. It was a duck, Webby. And the most impressive thing about Webby is I could balance Webby on my head, and I could do just about anything without Webby falling off of my head.
Did Webby have kind of like a beanbag butt type of thing?
No, not so much. No.
Really?
Like I think there was a real talent, and he had to kind of sit a little crooked on my head.
Talent.
So yes, a talent. So maybe just to give you a few more clues as to my age, I do remember one year when I asked for silly putty, a kick and go, and slime, green slime for Christmas. Yeah.
Silly putty. So did you spread it on the comics?
Right, on the comics, and you make those
That was the
prints.
great thing, except for now.
That's the great thing.
Newspapers just aren't as common anymore. Kids don't even get the
even
thrill
know, right?
of mushing your silly putty on the comics.
So exciting.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then you could read from your silly putty.
Right.
And stretch it out. Oh, look at that.
Right?
Oh,
The guys, it's so much fun. Exactly.
The Beetle Bailey's getting really large. Okay. See, I grew up, I was huge movies. And I like the oldies because in order to watch movies, I always had to watch it with the adults. Yeah. So then I grew up, I had a great appreciation for, White Christmas is my favorite Christmas movie to this day. And I remember seeing it as a little kid going, oh, wow.
Did not know.
Yeah.
Very cool.
White Christmas. When I'm worried and I can't sleep, I count my blessings instead of sheep. Thank you very much.
Very good.
Well done.
So how about you?
Well, I mean, I do remember Wizard of Oz, Sound of Music. I remember watching those on TV.
Yeah.
I love those, right? The music part as well as I just love.
Didn't you feel like
those.
they were on like 3 or 4 times a year?
Oh, well,
it was
It's a
always
Wonderful
special
Life,
when it came
remember?
out.
It's a Wonderful Life. It was like every...
Yeah.
You'd catch it all in reverse, basically, or in patches, because it was on every channel. In the theater, actually going to E.T. And I remember going to E.T., and I remember just tears streaming down my face.
Yes.
And looking around and thinking like, well, people cry a little bit in movies sometimes, but oh my goodness, everybody is just like sobbing. Yeah. And I loved that movie. I loved Star Wars. I loved all those movies too.
Sure.
But E.T. really stands out as one.
It was so special. It was just so special.
It was so emotional. It was such a this this thing that was captured of friendship and innocence.
And it definitely was one of those films where it was an adult film made for kids.
Right.
And it made it feel so special for us as kids being able to go to the theaters and share that kind of experience with our parents.
Yeah.
Because it was an adult movie that was essentially made for kids.
Very heavy. It was really heavy. Yeah, it was very emotional. Didn't one of our other guests say E.T.?
Did they?
It was Hillary.
I believe so. Yeah.
I didn't hear that one.
Well, that just tells you the impact of the movie. Great, great movies.
Right.
That when you had to go to the theater to see them, that was the only way to see them. That really captured. I don't think if I watched E.T. on TV, it would even come close. Do you know what I mean? It's like sometimes the scope of things, the sound. I'm sure it was John Williams. Yes, the score. So yeah,
and also that
impact.
Collective community thing. I mean, that's what I remembered. Not just like that, I was sobbing myself, but realizing, oh my goodness, everybody in this theater.
Crying.
Not a dry eye in the house, but it really felt like that. It really felt like we are all just sobbing. And it also, I think, was in a time when you're going, we're going to go see this movie about some alien who shows up and becomes friends with a kid. But now I feel like you can read everything online practically before you see a movie, right? Kind of how you might potentially feel or how other people reacted. And then it was just like, oh my goodness, what's happening?
And how many people take the critics' reviews for their own. And how they won't go see movies because the critics panned them or said that they weren't that great. Yeah. Just the mystique of movies has changed so much.
So much. Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right. So let's say we're in grade school here. Obviously, you're Little Miss Popular, but you moved and had to start over.
I did.
Right.
Yeah.
That's hard.
It was hard, especially, again, being a little bit more shy introvert. I relied on the fact that people knew me.
But you built yourself up. How did you do? Did you find a friend? Sometimes it's like finding that one person, that hook that gets you in, and they have friends, and then you're automatically
I think sixth grade was a little bit more of a challenge. I had a next door neighbor who I did a lot with. Like, we put reins on our bikes. We pretended they were horses, and we would ride our bikes with reins, like holding the reins, and we
okay.
Yes, I love it.
We lived on a dead end road, so we would just go up and down this road with steering our bikes with the reins. So sixth grade was harder. I think seventh grade, the class was bigger, and so there were more people, and then I really started to come into my own more. My good friend Meg, I met her in seventh grade as well, and we played clarinet together. And one time she greased her clarinet so much that the bottom half fell off in the floor in the middle of the concert and rattled across the floor.
No.
And of course, seventh grade girl, you're just like giggling, right?
Okay, so yes, we got to talk about this stuff now.
Okay.
I know this is like becoming a thing. It's like, now he knows. No, but actually, I've been very wrong about the birthday. So, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So what were you watching? Were you a TV family?
Oh, okay. I love That's Incredible.
Fran
Remember
Tarkenton.
John Davidson.
Right?
John Davidson.
Yeah.
The guy who folded himself into a little glass box.
Yep.
Is the main one that I remember. Do you remember that?
It was always on the opening credits. So you always hope for the rerun.
Why you remember that one.
Because you would always hope for the rerun that you would be able to see that one again.
That's right.
So so I did.
Gold.
I loved That's Incredible. Gosh, we used to watch Charlie's Angels. Again, my friend Becky and I in church, we actually would pretend we were Charlie's Angels in the church basement.
Okay.
Love Boat, Brady Bunch.
Fantasy Island.
Yes.
That was on right after?
Fantasy Island was right after Love Boat. Yep.
Yeah.
10 and then
that I've seen on
9 to 10 and 10 to 11, right? I think is what they were at the time.
Oh.
Some MTV when you get to high school.
Oh my gosh, MTV. Do you remember the first song they ever played on MTV?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know the answer?
I know the answer.
Yeah, this is a great general trivia. It goes, "Video killed the radio star." That was the first video ever. The Buggles, right?
Yes, sir.
I think you've done a trivia thing on that before.
That's good to know.
All right, let's get into some early high school stuff. So now you're settled into this new school, found your way. You're still playing music.
Yep.
Still playing sports.
Yep.
So let's talk about how good did you get at sports, and what sports were they in high school?
Okay, so in high school, I did soccer. Alpine ski racing, actually. And we had a little ski hill in town, and lacrosse.
Wow. So kind of a little, I would call them a little bit more fringier sports, because I always just think, well, did you play football, basketball, or volleyball, or track? Which did you do? Those would be baseball or softball. Those are the ones. But
you don't think of lacrosse.
You don't think of lacrosse.
And it wasn't big. When I first moved to Minnesota, lacrosse. Nobody knew what lacrosse was.
I don't think it was a thing in Minnesota for maybe within like the last 5-10 years that it finally came around.
Exactly right. So lacrosse, that ended up being my best sport. Played through college and was captain, and that was soccer was my bigger sport in high school. Probably
you were a big deal on the lacrosse field.
Yeah,
so you were pretty good. You got really good at sports.
So I got pretty good at sports. Yeah,
you got good at sport.
Music. What are you listening for music?
So music. My first records were given to me by a babysitter. Kind of.
Cool. Yeah.
Monkeys, Captain and Tennille, Sean Cassidy, that kind of thing. Yeah. My mom was really into James Taylor, Simon and Garfunkel, Bob Dylan, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. My first, besides those records, and besides like Grease and things like that, I remember I got into the Go-Go's.
Were you a big Grease fan
when
that came out?
And then I was a big Grease fan.
Huge, I bet. Because it's great music.
Great music.
The theater part of it.
Yep,
and all
it was great.
Travolta, were you a big John Travolta fan?
No, I was not a big John Travolta fan, actually. Okay.
Who was your teen idol? Or who was was it Sean Cassidy?
Well, I didn't like
yeah, of course.
But then I was really embarrassed that I did. I realized that Parker Stevenson was actually the cooler Hardy Boy to like, and I was sort of embarrassed.
The Hardy Boys. That's right.
Let's see here.
Sure.
Duran Duran was my first concert.
Oh, Duran Duran.
I heard you guys talking about that on a podcast, and that was my official first concert.
Awesome.
Simon
Le
Bon. Yeah. Then I kind of went whole different direction. I was totally horrified that I'd gone to Duran Duran. I was really into U2.
Sure.
But actually went very folky. So kind of all like Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Again, James Taylor. James Taylor went to my high school.
So you almost full circled from where your parents were.
Exactly, where my mom was. My dad.
Growing up, my father was really into like Jim Croce.
Yes, Jim Croce.
Bob Seger, those types, Then growing up, you had a couple of songs that got you. Yeah. Today, if Operator comes on, I will listen to it twice because it's just so good.
How about Bad Leroy Brown?
Yeah. So I brought to show and tell the record of Jim Croce in first grade.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay. You were so proud.
I was so proud. And then my biggest worry about my first year roommate in college was that she would like pop music. And of course she did. She was totally into all of the latest. And I was so into my whatever folk music.
Yeah. School dances. Did you go?
Yeah, I did.
Yep. Cool.
Yes.
Okay. So now you're in high school.
Yep.
People kind of start to think about what the next step is. It's college. It's the workplace. It's trade school, gap year, whatever the case may be. Did you know you were headed to upper education? Was that kind of a path that was pretty clear for you?
Yes. That was pretty much a definite in my family. My mom was a pastor, and so everybody at my interviews always asked me if I wanted to be a pastor like my mom, and I was horrified. That was the last thing I wanted to be.
Oh.
So that was interesting that I guess not that interesting. There weren't that many women ministers at that time either, but I actually thought I might do something more like physical therapy. And then I went to liberal arts college and got very interested in the religion courses, like the world religion, philosophy of religion, all of that. I was very drawn to that as well as Spanish.
Interesting.
Yeah. So one summer I actually worked at Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston interpreting Spanish. And
oh, wow. Are you still fluent?
Pretty close. Pretty close.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
I always hate to label myself because every now and then I forget a word and then I'm embarrassed. But yeah, I lived in Guatemala for a year
that's right.
Yeah. So, but I was a volunteer Spanish interpreter. I had a dictionary, it was sort of one of these, it was way different from what we have now. But yeah, that's how actually I got into chaplain work is I was visiting people and they started talking to me as we were waiting for the doctor, just how hard it was being in the hospital and whether their faith was the thing getting them through or they were angry at God or whatever it was. They would just start talking about that. And I was like, it's interesting. And my mom said, well, there's such a thing as a hospital chaplain.
And so what year was it when you graduated? No, I'm just kidding. I think it's time. I'm ready.
Are you?
You have a fascinating story. It's very cool. We didn't get too much into your siblings and that dynamic in middle child like we thought we would, but
we covered a lot. So entranced in everything else. So this has been such a fun conversation. Dude, it is now the time to think back to all the clues that Abby has given us. So that way you can figure out her birthday, be it the day, month, and year.
Okay, give me some nuggets. Give me some nuggets. I need some nuggets here.
Silly putty.
Silly putty. Yep.
Slime.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The Love Boat.
Oh, yeah, sure. And E.T.
E.T. in the theater. Duran Duran.
Wow. Okay.
Her name was Rio.
He's hungry like a wolf. Okay. I really, I can't wrap my brain around what month. So I'm just going to take a stab, okay? I don't think it's down near the holidays, so I'm going to take the front half of the year, and I'm going to say April 15th, 1969.
April 14th, 1969.
Oh my gosh! Yes! Oh my gosh!
Well done. Wow.
Wait, I don't know what happened. Was I off by a day?
A day, sir.
I was off by a day.
That is crazy.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
That is really crazy.
That's crazy. Not that crazy. I'm getting good at this.
No, but that's really crazy.
Abby, this was so fun. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you very much.
Have
it's
an
been
awesome
wonderful.
day.
It's been great to be with you
wild.
guys. You guys are great.
Thank you.
Grateful for you.
Thanks for joining us for today's Childhood Chatcast, brought to you by Buzzsprout. To get new and previous episodes of Childhood Chatcast, head over to starstudiomn.org.